iVillage Live.
Welcome to iVillage Live from Universal Orlando Resort. So you find out that your partner has been unfaithful, and the news can take you on an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, you know, it's estimated that 30 to 50% of married people will actually cheat.
Hard to believe, but it's so hard to understand how or why that even happens in the first place. Dr. Leslie Austin is a behavior therapist here with some answers. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you.
Austin.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
Right off the bat, I mean, why do people cheat? I mean, you're going to get married, you're in a great relationship. Why do they cheat?
Here's the bottom line. You fall in love, you get married, you have to keep working the relationship, you have to keep talking. Cheating is about lack of communication on both parties' parts. It's not only one person that cheats.
Yeah.
Both people aren't working to keep the relationship going, talking openly and honestly, ongoingly. It's really important.
I think a person is just natural to think. Of course, if your partner cheats, you almost start playing the blame game with yourself and saying, what did I do wrong that made them want to find somebody else?
Or what's wrong with them that they don't still care for me in the same way? It's human. We understand. Everybody wants to do that because you're very hurt. But blame is really destructive, and it's not the point. It took two people to make the relationship start to come apart, and then one person acted out. Why? Their needs aren't getting met, and they didn't talk about it honestly and directly. They didn't say, I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy, I need more, I need this.
So you're
to
saying
give you a chance to talk.
Both people are at fault if a person cheats?
In varying degrees, yes, because there's a lack of communication there somehow. Now, it may be more than one person, more one person than the other, but still there are two people. You can ask and say, how are we doing? How is everything? How are you doing in our relationship? You can check in if the other person isn't talking. It's really two people that have to work at it.
Let's talk about the responsibility of the person who does the cheating, though. It's going to be easy for them to say, him or her, well, I did because you're not doing enough, whatever.
Right. My answer to that is, why didn't you tell me?
That's kind of a cop-out, don't you think?
Why didn't you talk to me first? Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you speak about it? Maybe there's something I could have done to keep you happier. We can talk, we can negotiate. We fell in love, we've built a partnership, we have agreements here about loving each other, about fidelity. You didn't come to me first. Let's talk, let's work it out. And it is possible to work it out.
I often think, what if it's not, you know, that deep? If the emotions aren't about that, it's just somebody just decides they're tired and they just kind of want to bail. They've had it.
They still need to say something first, otherwise you're just acting out and you're not taking responsibility for what you need. If you really want out of the relationship and your partner doesn't know that, you really need to tell them before you act out and get involved with someone else. Otherwise, it's what I call an out-the-door affair. You set up the affair as an excuse to get out of the relationship. But you're not being honest, you're not being direct. Take the high road and be honest with your partner.
Sort of rather than solving the problem, you're just saying, you know what, this is an easier
You're covertly
solution.
Creating a diversion to make it seem like the relationship is really bad, but you're creating that. Do it cleanly. This relationship isn't working and I need to move on, and do it honestly.
I think we have a question now from one of our viewers in the chat rooms or message boards. Let's check in with Nam.
We do actually, yes. Pink Elephant wrote into the message board with an interesting point. She says, I think people cheat for a power trip. I guess that means that if you make your partner vulnerable, hurt, then you therefore become more powerful in the relationship. What do you think of that?
Yes, cheating is often about power. I always say cheating and infidelity is about intimacy and not sex. But the way you play out the sexual part is in a power trip. You're having an affair with someone else. You have that first flush of excitement. You're more attractive. And yes, it can be a power play, absolutely. If it is a power play, you really have to go deeper and ask, why is that person doing that? What happened in the relationship? Why don't you bring back the excitement that you had? And we know that the first flush doesn't last after years, but relationships can go deeper. They can get much more interesting, they can stay alive, and that kind of relationship is far more rewarding than a series of first flushes excitement.
We want to talk about how it is possible in a moment of getting through infidelity.
And it is possible.
But let's talk about first, are all affairs created equally? Say someone goes out on a business trip, they meet someone, it is truly a one-night thing. Or if they maybe have a long-term relationship, or even two, what's kind of been thrown in the mix now is the internet and cyberspace dating. A friend of mine felt completely violated. Her husband had been talking to someone innocently at first, and then they shared a lot of intimacy over the computer, and she felt he was cheating on her.
Yeah. You know, the internet is an updated version of CB radio. People used to kind of cheat on each other, but they never meet in person. It's an excitement, it's a safety, but it is a cheating. It's an emotional cheating. And again, basically, if you're not communicating and you're cheating, you need to go back to your partner and clean it up. Or you are participating in wrecking your relationship. You won't get your needs met. It's not self-serving to go cheat. If you want your needs met, try it in your primary relationship first, and if it doesn't work, move on, but do it cleanly. And the internet is a very big issue because it can be secret.
Is that the same to you, cheating and talking to somebody
It
there?
is.
There's maybe not
Again,
sexual.
Right.
Intimacy and not sex. So if you're sharing your deepest intimate self with someone online that you've never met, to me that's a form of cheating, absolutely. The sex is not quite the afterthought because it's exciting, but the sex is often not the point. And the one night stand is just a question of degree. How unsatisfied are you? Do you think you can do that? You still didn't talk to your partner.
What about, I'm always curious about, are there a standardized sort of set of signs that you kind of look for? You know what I mean? I mean, I know everybody's different, but you're sitting there and all of a sudden you feel like, wow, something's different. What do you look for?
I think it's very important to trust your gut and to trust your intuition. And if you think something may be off, you don't want to be suspicious and grill someone and attack them, but you do want to say, are we a little stale lately? What's going on here? How are you doing? How am I doing? Can we take a weekend off or a day off or even an hour off if you have kids and you're really busy? Can we take some time off and just talk about us? Can we nurture our relationship together? It's really important to do that. That's how you keep a relationship alive and make it interesting.
I have to tell you, you really are looking at this so in such a mature way that all the cards are out on the table.
Absolutely.
But quite frankly, when people are experiencing an affair, they're lying, they're cheating, they're hiding it all. It's not quite so adult-like, and let's talk about this.
Well, I'm talking about how you prevent that from happening.
So what if you catch your spouse with another woman at a hotel room? I mean, quite frankly, that's how it happens a lot.
That's pretty ugly, and you have to make a decision. What were your agreements about your relationship? And if they were broken, do you want to try and repair the relationship? Because if you do, it's the same principles as I'm talking about. You have to give it time. You can't be treating your partner like a suspect all the time. You have to let them earn the trust back, and it will take time. You have to deal with the hurt feelings, and you have to deal with what the issues were that caused it in the first place. And it may not be repairable, but it can
those relationships and how you can get over infidelity. It is possible.
Yes.
We've seen it with a lot of even famous couples survive that.
Yeah, it's tough though.
You don't have to burn their clothes immediately.
No,
you can wait.
Window yet.
So stick around, Doctor.
Yeah, we're going to get some answers to a lot of these questions.
That's right. We're going to check in with Namla right now. Hey, Nam.
Hey, Sissy. Yes, Bella writing into our message board saying, I don't think I could forgive my husband if he ever cheated. I have a friend whose husband did, and she forgave him. I guess that unless you're in the situation, it's very hard to know what you would do, which is true, and that's what we'll be talking about next. To stay together or to break up for yourself, for the kids, that's coming right up. You're watching iVillage Live.
Welcome back to iVillage Live. We're talking today about infidelity, and here with us is Dr. Leslie Austin, a behavior expert. Now, in round two of this discussion, let's talk about if it's different at all if you're just dating, or if maybe you plan to get married, if you're an engaged couple, or if you're a married couple, and with kids, without kids. Does that make any difference? I mean, so many times we hear before marriage, oh, well, you're not married yet, so go ahead.
Yeah, go have a good time.
Is that right? And can you still heal?
I really think that's between the couple. To me, there isn't really a difference. It might be a difference of degree. It's what are your agreements? To me, if you're seriously dating someone, you have the same obligation as if you're married, unless you specifically agree otherwise. Very few people can handle that. So are you dating monogamously? You need to keep that agreement. Are you not? It's not that serious dating. What are you doing? Again, it's honest communication. Now, it may sound like I'm making this sound airy-fairy easy. It's not. This is real work. But relationships that survive, that are delicious and complex and deep over a long period of time, have to have this basis of communication. Because how do you keep it alive for a long time otherwise?
And I tell you, and I think, like, whether I don't care if you're married or single, I mean, if you're going to develop a pattern of lying to people, that's a developed pattern. It's like, oh, I'm married now, that's just going to go away.
Right.
If you have the ability to lie to somebody and say, oh yeah, I went on a business trip and I was just out late, don't worry about it. I mean, if you're married or saying, or just dating, that's still lying.
Absolutely.
And lying pretty much is lying. So, I mean, I think it's if you can do it then, you could do it in your marriage.
Well, kind of sets the tone, too, for what your relationship may or may not be.
And to the point we're talking up, it's about communication.
Absolutely.
If you're hiding things
it's about
going
intimacy.
in.
It really is, and you have to work at intimacy and keep it alive. If somebody's lying about cheating, the chances are they're lying elsewhere in their lives. And you really have to deal with that. You can rebuild a relationship, and there are things that you need to do that. One is you have to trust them that they are working with you. Again, that's really hard to do at first because you want to burn their clothes.
Yes.
You want to throw them out.
Yes.
You want to take vengeance.
Yes.
Don't do it because you're no better than they are. You're acting out, you're being vindictive, and you're not communicating directly. You be the model. I know it's hard. Take the high road, it pays off. Because either you'll rebuild your relationship and it'll work and you'll be really satisfied and you can trust that person again, remember why you loved them in the first place, bring that back, or you'll break up but cleanly and you'll know you did everything you could do to make it work and it just didn't work.
Let me ask you this. Do you think maybe we've become jaded now as a society? I mean, 30 years ago, it was almost unheard of, and if it was, instant divorce.
I think
now we see a lot of celebrities, Bill and Hillary, they go through infidelity, they're back together strong as ever. Do we almost become to this point where it just happens and we're going to just...
Or Jerry Hall.
Right. I mean, it becomes a part of the relationship, which is almost...
Part of that, yes, we are jaded, and part of that is celebrities have their private lives discussed in such detail in a way that we didn't used to do 30 years ago. We didn't have instant electronic media and the internet. Everybody wasn't so exposed, so a private life was more private. And we do have different attitudes now, and I'm not sure it's always good to look at other people. You really need to tend to your own life and your own relationship.
If it works for you, or if it doesn't.
Whatever it is that works for you, make it good.
How can we work through this? All right, it's happened to us, and we're in the middle of it. I mean, personally, I'm one of those people that I don't know how I couldn't get over that. That's to me, that's breaking the golden rule right there for me.
Right.
But are there ways to get through this for some
I'm
people?
with you,
One reason why I probably couldn't get over it so easily myself, by the way. And one reason is, if you are that hurt and you can't really rebuild the communications, it's better to leave the relationship and move on. If there's a possibility of rebuilding the relationship, go for it. You have to give it time. This is not an easy thing to get over. This is the toughest thing in relationships. When you feel betrayed and someone's betrayed you, you have to give it time. You can't be a suspicious policeman and constantly monitor them.
Let me ask you this, though. You
gotta give them
study
a chance.
people's behaviors, and you're an expert in this.
Yes.
They say you can't change a dog's spots. If someone's going to cheat one time, might they cheat again and again?
I'm not sure this is as permanent as a dog's spots, which is genetic. Bad behavior can be changed if you catch it early and you both have an equal commitment to working out the issues and talking. If there's a second incident, in my opinion, there's not much hope for redeeming that relationship because the person didn't work on the issues and clean it up with you.
Right.
Exactly. Nema, you have a question?
It's interesting, you two were just talking about whether you could or couldn't get over infidelity, and CT Bill wrote in to say it takes great inner strength, especially when the trust has been damaged. Are there certain people who are able to get over infidelity and certain people who can't? As in just what you are as a person?
Yes, I think that's very, very astute what the viewer said. It is about your inner strength. Yes, you can get over it. I think it's a minority of people, but you really can work that through. And then, believe it or not, those few people who do, the relationships can end up stronger, much richer, much better for having gone through a storm, weathered it, and come through the other end. There's a bond there that you got through struggle that's extraordinary, but it's the minority of people who are able to or willing to really do the work to get there.
I want to ask you this. What if you meet someone as a result of the affair? You meet your new lover and they cheated on their spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend. Will you be able to always feel comfortable and think,
you did it with me, who are you going to do it with next?
Exactly. I think that's a bad idea. It's a bad prognosis. You know, we have the stereotype of the boss who has a serial number of wives as secretaries, or women who have a serial number of boyfriends, and we're cheating. If somebody cheated with you, they're going to cheat again. And it's not a good idea. I don't want to be hard and fast, but as a general rule, you see the writing on the wall in the start of the relationship.
So if you hear that, I've never done this before, I don't know.
And truly, most of the time, the person you're having the affair with is not the person they're going to end up with long term anyway. Most affairs are ways of dealing with issues that you're not dealing with in the relationship or getting out of the relationship. They're not really about that person because you're still looking at your not wife or your not husband.
Right.
It's not about that person that you're in love with.
Wonderful information.
Oh, my
Always
goodness.
such a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank
It's a
you.
real joy. Thank you.
Man.
Thanks. Cecile.
And Roger, you do
We're
know
solid by.
I will burn your clothes.
That's right. Yeah. Don't mess with us.
All right, let's head over to Nam.
All right, sis. Well, coming up, we are going to completely switch gears after a day in the sun, transforming your look from beach bum to barbecue beauty. That can be a big challenge. When we come back, the best way to go from grunge to glamour. You're watching iVillage Live.